In the last section, we created our image list component, and we're now ready to take this list of images and show them to the user somehow. Now, before we start to write any code inside this component, I want to do a quick review on a kind of fundamental thing around JavaScript arrays very quickly. If you are already very familiar with mapping JavaScript arrays, feel free to pause the video right now and continue in the next video. Otherwise, stick around and we're going to do a very quick review. All right, so we're going to pull up that same little code editor that we used very briefly when we were talking about context earlier. Here's a link to it here on the screen. So my full name, github.io/playgrounds. Remember, no N in my last name. Everyone always puts an N in there. Okay, so quick reminder here, in this little code editor, we can create a variable, like, I don't know, my number, I don't know, whatever. Make it 10. And then if we start to reference that number or do operations on it, we're going to print out the result over here. And it's all live updating. So let's create a little array in here. And I want to remind you on how to write a map statement with JavaScript, because understanding map statements is absolutely key to building lists of components with React. So I'm going to put together an array of numbers. And I'll put in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. That'll work for now. All right, so now I want to somehow produce a brand new array. And in this new array, I want to multiply every one of these values by 10. But really take note of that statement or how I laid out that problem. I want to create a new array. I don't want to loop this through this array and change all the numbers in here. I want to create a brand new one. So let's try doing that first by writing out a simple for loop. I'm going to declare an empty array first that I'll call new numbers. And then I'll write out a for loop. We'll use let all the way through. I'm going to loop as long as I is less than numbers.length, and I'll go as long as I++. And then inside of here, I'll say new numbers.push. I'll take numbers at I, and I'm going to multiply that by 10, like so. And then after the for loop, I'm going to reference new numbers. And I'll see that I have all those original values multiplied by 10. And in addition, I can print out the original numbers, and the original numbers array has not been changed in any way. So essentially, when I ran the for loop right here, I did not mutate or change the existing array. I just did some calculation and stuck each of those different numbers or those updated numbers into this brand new array. Now, a map statement in JavaScript is going to do the exact same thing as what you are doing right here. A mapping statement is going to iterate over an array. It's going to return a brand new array. The brand new array is going to take each of the original values and modify them in some fashion. That's it. Same thing as exactly what you see right here, just with some very condensed syntax. So to show you how this works, I'm going to clean up those two variables down there. And now I'll do a numbers.map like so. So here's the mapping function. This is a function. We pass a function to it. You could either pass it a function keyword, or we can do a arrow function like so. Totally up to you. Now this inner function right here is going to be called with each element in the original array. We receive each of those elements as an argument inside of here. We can use any name for this argument that you want to use. I personally use the singular form of whatever I'm calling that array. So if this thing right here is called numbers, I might call the argument in here simply number. Now, unfortunately, in JavaScript, number is a keyword, so I can't use that word in this case. So I'll just call it like num, short for number. So then inside of here, I'm going to do some calculation on this value and then return it from this inner function. So I will say num times 10 like so. And now you'll see over here, I've got the same array that we got when we did that really long for loop right there. And if I print out numbers underneath it, I'll see that it did not change the original array. I just created a brand new one. Now, this is pretty compact right here compared to writing out a for loop and having to define an array ahead of time. We could simplify it even further by removing the return keyword and then removing both of those curly braces and the semicolon. And now right here with just that statement, we got the same thing as before. And you know what? We can actually go even further by removing those parentheses around the argument. Okay, so that's map statements right there. Like I said, you really got to understand these map statements to understand how we're going to build a list with React components. Because as you might imagine, all we're going to do here is loop over all the images in that array, And for each image in there, we're going to return a brand new component. Let's do a very quick example of that back over here. So I'm going to delete all that stuff. And then inside of here, I'll do another numbers.map. And I'll say for each number, or num in this case, I'm going to return a div. And inside that div, I'm going to reference num, like so. So that's pretty much exactly what it's going to look like. All right, so let's take a quick pause right here. When we come back to the next section, we're going to map over our list of images rather than these numbers that you see right here. And then we'll make sure that we return that list of images from the image list component.